The Avengers vs. the Peter Factor by midnightwolf2192. Chapter 6. Clint, Part 2. While they explored the museum, Clint found himself talking to Peter a lot. He found the boy to be charming, respectful, and just too dang adorable. It also helped he was smart, so when one of the kids asked a question that Clint had no idea about, Peter could give an answer 9 times out of 10. At 1:30, the group completed their adventure around the museum, and in that time, Nate had refused to let Peter put him down. "Nate, we should let Peter go. It's time for lunch." Clint tried to reason, but Nate was still holding Peter hostage. "No, my Peter," Nate said as he buried his head into Peter's neck. "Have lunch with us?" "If it's okay with your dad," Peter replied, and Clint just rolled his eyes. "Come on. I believe I promised you 3 terrors McDonald's. Peter, is that all right with you?" Clint asked, and Peter nodded again with a laugh. Clint led the 4 of them out of the museum and down the street to the first McDonald's they found. When they got in line, Clint looked at Peter and grinned. "Order whatever you want, kid. My treat." "Mr. Barton, I can pay for my own food, I promise." Peter tried to bargain, but Clint shook his head. "Nope, it's the least I can do. You've essentially been babysitting my brats all day." Clint teased, and Lila smacked his arm. After ordering, Peter, Nate and Lila went to find a table while Cooper and Clint waited for the food. "So, do you like Peter?" Clint asked, and Cooper rolled his eyes. "He's pretty cool. Bit nerdy, but in a good way," Cooper replied. "Why?" "I was just thinking. Kid's smart. Maybe we can organise him to help you with school. If you want, I mean," Clint said. He knew Cooper was struggling with some of his classes, namely math and whatever science he was taking this term. He was more of a history and English kid, so Clint didn't blame him for having trouble. "I think that would be good," Cooper replied after a moment. "I think he would help me without making me feel like I was stupid." Clint ruffled his son's hair before the order was called. Cooper and Clint grabbed the 2 trays and walked over to where they could see Peter and the kids sitting. Clint dashed out to the food with the kids taking theirs with gratitude. During lunch, Clint watched with a fond smile as his kids peppered Peter with questions. However, it was one question from Cooper that caught his attention. "You're from Queens, right?" Cooper asked, and when Peter nodded, he continued, "So you must know all about Spider-Man." I know a bit," Peter said, and Clint listened intently. He hadn't fought Spider-Man during the Civil War, but he had heard about him from his teammates after the fact. "He is so cool," Cooper said excitedly, and Peter raised an eyebrow. "Well, your dad is an Avenger, so he's pretty cool too," Peter said, while Clint puffed out his chest. Cooper rolled his eyes. "Nah, he's just Dad," Cooper said, and Clint let out an offended noise. "Spider-Man is awesome. I've watched all the videos of him on YouTube. The one where he caught the speeding car was so cool." "Have you met him, Peter?" Lila asked, and Clint frowned at the look on her face. If he didn't know any better, he'd say his little girl was developing a crush on the teen. She'd pretty much attached herself to Peter on their walk over from the museum, and now that he realised it, Lila was sitting on the opposite seat of Peter to Nate. "I haven't, but he saved my friends," Peter replied. "We were in DC on an academic decathlon meet, and the elevator we were in at the Washington Monument fell. He saved all of them." "Wow," the 2 elder Barton kids said, and Peter smiled. Nate was too enthralled with his nuggets to comment. When lunch was over, Clint pulled Peter to the side quickly. "So, I was wondering," Clint said, and Peter nodded for him to continue. "Coop is having some trouble with some of his subjects at school, namely maths and science. I was wondering if you would mind being his tutor." "Me? Really?" Peter asked, and Clint could see a look of disbelief in his eyes. "I mean, I'd love to help, if you think I'm smart enough." "Kid, you're probably the smartest person I know, and I know Tony Stark," Clint said, and Peter's eyes widened. "Plus, Coop feels comfortable with you. I love that kid, but he's stubborn as they come. If he doesn't like someone, he won't even try to work with them." "Thanks for the compliment, Mr. Barton. Sure, I'd love to help Coop out," Peter replied. He pulled a pen and notebook out of his bag and wrote some things down. "That's my phone number and my email." "Thanks, kid," Clint said, before the kids pulled Peter's attention back to them. Peter said his goodbyes to the kid, and after eventually convincing Nate to let him go, walked off down the street with a wave. When the kids and Clint returned to the tower, Nate and Laura were sitting on one of the lounges, waiting for them. The kids launched at their mother and told her all about their trip and about their new friend. The next time Clint saw Peter was in the Avengers gym about 2 months later. He walked in to find Nate, but since he had his head down looking at his phone, he was unaware of the other presence in the room. "Hey Nat, guess what?" Without waiting for her answer, Clint continued excitedly. "Cooper just got his latest math pop quiz back and he scored an A! His new tutor is amazing!" "I mean, not really?" the familiar voice sounded, and Clint looked up sharply. Peter was standing beside Nat, both in sweatpants and tank tops. From the looks of things, they had been dancing, not sparring like Clint would have first guessed. But then Clint looked down and saw that Nat's point shoes also helped in identifying what the pair had been doing. Coop just needed things explained differently. No offence, but his tutors had been teaching him in such a roundabout way to do things. "Kid, what are you doing here?" Clint asked, having trouble wrapping his head around things. "What does it look like, bird brain?" Nat teased, and Clint maturely stuck his tongue out at her. "Peter and I are practicing our ballet. It's been years since I danced, but when Miss Nat asks you to do something, you do it," Peter said with a smile and a blush. Clint, although confused, smiled at the look that crossed Nat's face. "How did you two meet?" Clint asked as he walked further into the gym. "Peter here is Tony's intern," Nat said proudly, and Peter's blush darkened. "And we met early one morning when he decided homework was more important than sleep. So, Peter is the kid my niece and nephews can't stop talking about. Yeah, Spark here found Nate after he wandered off, then proceeded to educate my kids as they explored the museum," Clint said, and Nat raised an eyebrow. Both Laura and Nat had found out quickly about Clint losing Nate, but when the kids had all spoken excitedly about the person who had found him, they could only laugh. "Spark?" both Peter and Nat echoed, and Clint couldn't help but laugh that escaped him. Without knowing, they both shot him the exact same confused puppy look, and it was hilarious. "Yeah, because you're smart, like a bright spark. So, Spark," Clint explained, and he wasn't sure how Peter's face could get any darker, but it did. "Well, I'm here now. I want to see some ballet." Clint sat down, and Nat rolled her eyes. He waved his hand for them to continue, and Peter followed Nat into the centre of the room. Nat clicked a button on a small remote that she had from her pants pocket, and the music started. Clint watched awestruck as his best friend danced the Knave of Hearts pas de deux with Peter. Clint had always known Nat's movements were graceful, but Peter rivaled her. It was utterly amazing to him to watch him effortlessly lift and slide the woman around. It looked as though the pair had been working together for years. When the music ended, Clint leapt to his feet and started applauding. "Friday, please tell me you filmed that," Clint commented as he approached the dancers. "Of course, Mr. Barton," Friday said, and Clint smiled. "Spark, that was amazing!" Clint said, and Peter blushed darkly. "Miss Nat did most of the pretty stuff." Peter attempted to brush off the compliment. Clint glared and then promptly launched into a description of Peter's dancing that had the team blushing even darker. Nat drank her water and watched as her best friend bonded with the boy she was coming to see as a son. But she would never tell anyone that. "Fry," she commented softly, "please plaque another mark against Tony's Peter factor board, please. Because if you think Nat didn't find out about the Peter factor list, you obviously don't know Natasha Romanoff. Peter factor 6, Avengers 0.